This Zoom session is being brought to you by the fractal Bullseye Bubble Water. Okay, today we're ending off the chapter 3.7 with the product to sum and sum to product formulas. All right. We start off with the angle sum and angle difference formulas. Cosine of a sum is cosine, cosine minus sine, sine. Cosine of a difference is cosine, cosine plus sine, sine. Sine of a sum is sine, cosine plus cosine, sine. And sine of a difference is sine, cosine minus cosine, sine. Okay, notice there's some plus. These have a lot of terms in common. And here's a plus and a minus. So if, for example, we add this to this, cosine of the sum plus cosine of the difference, then the sine alpha, sine beta cancels, and we're left with cos alpha, cos beta twice. So cosine of alpha plus beta plus cosine of alpha minus beta is twice cos alpha, cos beta. And if we subtract them instead, these terms cancel, and you get minus minus another minus is minus 2. So cosine of alpha plus beta minus cosine of alpha minus beta is minus twice sine alpha sine beta. You have a sine of a sum and sine of a difference. Again, lots of common terms, a couple of common terms. If we add them, these terms cancel out and get twice of this. So sine of alpha plus beta plus sine of alpha minus beta equals twice sine alpha cosine beta. And if we subtract them, this cancels, and here you get minus this term minus a negative is 2 of this term. So sine of sum, alpha plus beta, minus sine of the difference, alpha minus beta, equals twice cosine alpha sine beta. Now, it's worth noting, of these four formulas, this one is the oddball. It has a minus 2, and all these others have plus 2. You have to kind of work around that and watch out for it. Okay, I call these a sum and product identities. They're not really mentioned in the book because they do a bridge to the next step, which is a product to sum and sum to product. So here's what we do. If starting from here, we divide both sides by 2, or this one by negative 2, we get what we call the product to sum formula. So dividing by 2, the cos alpha times cos beta equals a half of this sum, half of cosine alpha plus beta plus cosine of alpha minus beta. Here, if we divide by a negative 2, we get the oddball formula. Sine alpha sine beta equals minus 1/2, a minus, cosine of a sum minus cosine of a difference, cos alpha plus beta minus cosine alpha plus beta. Here we divide by 2, get sine alpha cos beta equals a half of sine of the sum plus sine of the difference. You divide this by 2, cosine alpha sine beta equals half of sine alpha plus beta minus sine of alpha minus beta. These last two are really much the same. You flip around. If you exchange alpha and beta, you turn this formula into this and this into that. This one here, product of sines equals minus a half this difference of cosines. So this is the oddball formula. This is called a product to sum formula because it takes these products of cosines and sines and turns into plus or minus a half of sums and differences. So, okay, it's sort of a sum. Now we can go the other way around. Suppose we want to have a cosine plus cosine equals twice cos what, cos what. Here we have to give this a name u, alpha plus beta, call it u. Alpha minus beta equals v. And if you do that, if u equals alpha plus beta and v equals alpha minus beta, then after a bit of simple algebra, alpha is the average, u plus v over 2. And beta is the half difference, u minus v over 2. So we're putting in u for all these alpha plus betas and v for all these alpha minus betas, and the average u plus v over 2 for all the alphas, and the half difference u minus v over 2 for all the betas. Then we directly get cos u plus cos v equals 2 cosine of the average times cosine of the half difference. Cos u, that's directly from here. From here, we get the cosine of u minus cosine v equals minus 2 sine of the average, sine of the half difference. Again, because of the minus, this is the oddball formula. Here, set this to u, this to v, average and half difference. Then sine of u plus sine of v equals twice sine of the average, cosine of the half difference. And similarly, from here, let this be u, this be v, average, half difference. I get that sine of u minus sine of v equals twice cosine of average sine of the half difference. These are the sum to product identities. Here we have plus cosine, you have a sum of cosines and sines, and here is a product of cosines and plus or minus 2. Now this last one brings you to the beat phenomenon. If you have a sine wave, y equals sine AT, and y equals sine of BT, so these are two sine waves, they might correspond to a musical note. Dong, dong. If you hit them both at the same time, you get a sum of these two sine waves. Sine AT plus sine BT, which is twice sine average, cosine of half difference. So twice sine AT plus BT over 2, cosine of AT minus BT over 2. So it equals twice sine of average frequency times T times cosine of A minus B over 2T, the beat frequency. What this is if you play those two notes at the same time, down, down, you get a warble. Dang. This here is wobbling with the average frequency. And this here, the whole thing rises and falls the beat of the beat frequency, the half difference of them. This, incidentally, is how I'm told how piano tuners, using analog methods, tune an analog piano. They'll have a middle C tuning fork and hit it, bang, and it hits the middle C at the same time, bang. And if there's a wow, 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 a beat, and he's not quite right, so he changes it until that beat lengthens out, and that's when it's tuned. I suppose that nowadays everything is electronic, although there still are analog pianos out there. So, and some examples. Sine 4 theta cosine 2 theta is what? Well, product to sum. Sine times cosine is a half sine of sum plus sine of difference. So it'll be 1/2 sine of the sum, 4 theta plus 2 theta, plus sine of the difference, 4 theta minus 2 theta. So it's half of sine of 6 theta plus sine of 2 theta. Here's cos 3 theta times cosine 5 theta. Product of cosines. Let's see. Product of cosines, that gets you a half cosine sum plus cosine difference. So cos 3 theta, cos 5 theta is a half. Cosine of the sum, 3 theta plus 5 theta. Cosine of the difference, 3 theta minus 5 theta. Half cosine 8 theta plus cosine negative 2 theta. This is not quite done. Now, we get to use the fact that cosine absorbs a negative. Cosine of negative 2 theta is the same as cosine 2 theta. This has been a sign the negative would come outside. So anyhow, we get a half cosine of 8 theta plus cosine 2 theta. Here we have a difference of sines. Sine 4 theta minus sine 2 theta. So difference of sines is 2 cosine of the average times sine of the half difference. So 2 cosine of the average, sine of the half difference. 4 theta plus 2 theta over 2 is 3 theta. 4 theta minus 2 theta over 2 is, oh dear, did I mess this up? I messed that one up. That should be a theta, and you know what? I've got to change that. Did I mess that? I absolutely messed that up, and I get honked. Shall be changing this in the canvas. Excuse me. This is 3/7, number 17. Sine theta. Okay, my mistake. Okay. Now here we have difference of cosines. Cosine of half theta, and that's cosine of 3/2 theta is what? Okay, for this, we have a difference of cosines, and that's the oddball. It's a minus twice sine average, sine half difference. So minus twice sine of the average, theta over 2 plus 3 theta over 2, that divide by 2, that comes out to theta. Here's sine of the half difference, theta over 2 minus 3 theta over 2, all over 2. That's minus theta over 2. And now we can go a little further. This minus comes out the sine and cancels this minus here. So you get 2 sine theta sine of theta over 2. And that concludes this part. Okay.